With most phones, or any gadget reviews in fact, we're generally giving our thoughts on the first couple of weeks of use, but what about using them long term? Do our thoughts change? I'm Cam Bunton from Pocket-lint, and I've been using the iPhone 14 Pro since it first came out a couple of months ago, and thought I'd share some thoughts with you after that period of time, because actually the things that stand out are maybe not the things that stood out right at the beginning. There are a couple of things I really appreciate about the design of the iPhone 14 Pro now that I've used it for a little while, and the most important probably is that it's really sturdy and strong. Now, what I noticed from a more long-term point of view is that the display glass seems a lot harder to scratch. By this point, with most phones, I'd have a few scratches, albeit quite minor ones, visible on the screen when you catch it at the right angle in the light. With whatever Apple's done with the Surface Glass and the ceramic shield on the iPhone 14 Pro, I found very little marking or scratching at all. The only real small mark has come from where I press the phone to my ear and it rubs against my earrings, but even those marks are barely visible. Having the high-level water and dust resistance means I've been able to use it in the rain and watch videos or listen to music in the shower as well, without worrying that it'll get water damaged. It's just an all-round good life-proof phone. Plus, it looks really pretty, especially in this deep purple colour. It's stunning, and the frosted glass on the back feels fantastic. It is a little heavy, and the cameras have this habit of collecting little bits of dust and pocket fluff between them on the camera housing, and that can be quite fiddly to clean. Plus, if you go caseless, the shiny edges will get fingerprints all over them, but otherwise, I really do like the design of the iPhone 14 Pro. There's not a huge amount new to say about the display and the camera because they're just as good as they were in the first 2 weeks. The triple camera system and the iPhone software make it really easy to snap a quick shot and have it look good in pretty much any condition, whether you want to shoot ultra-wide or zoomed in. In fact, the telephoto zoom lens has been really useful for portrait shots. Now, like I've often found with phones after using them for a while, it's the little useful things you learn to appreciate. Like the new always-on display on the iPhone 14 Pro has been more useful than I thought it would be, especially when you combine it with those lock screen widgets that give you information that you want to be able to see at a glance. Things like the battery widget that can show you what battery level your Apple Watch or connected AirPods have, or your current fitness ring process. Being able to see how many notifications you have waiting, or seeing live updates for weather apps like Carrot when there's rain starting in your area. It's all useful and means not actually having to interact too much with your phone just to find out basic information. Likewise, Dynamic Island becomes a really useful indicator for so many of the daily small things again, like seeing when your AirPods connect, or seeing the progress of AirDrop file transfers, or giving you control for AirPlay when you're playing music through another wireless speaker or on your Apple TV. Built-in family settings in the software have made it really easy to manage family and kids accounts, sharing purchases, subscriptions, and crucially, ensuring that only age-appropriate content is accessible for the younger ones. Plus, Find My means being able to find those devices if they go missing. And with ultra-band support on the iPhone 14 Pro and other recent models, you get precision location tracking for the new AirPods Pro and AirTags. It's an incredibly useful feature to have for those small items you constantly misplace, like keys and wallets, or AirPods. And they all have a tendency to slip into those small cracks and places that you can't always see. Thanks to a recent update, you can also now access Apple's Fitness Plus service without needing an Apple Watch to track your workouts, and this gives you access to hundreds of different workouts. Personally, I've been getting into yoga recently because of this service. But there are HIIT, core, and other workout types to choose from as well if you're not really into yoga or don't find it appealing. Now, I remember when I first started testing the iPhone 14 Pro, the battery life wasn't amazing. It was fine, but not market-leading like the iPhone 14 Pro Max. The addition of the always-on display meant a little more battery drain, plus there's always that thing when we tend to use a phone more when it's brand new, and so that skews battery usage a little, often leaving us with under 25% left over on busier days after taking it off charge at 7:30 in the morning. Now, the longer I use it, the more it settles into my normal everyday pattern, and I actually find that the battery life is really good. It's not all that unusual for some days to see me finish with nearly half the battery left over, and that's with relatively light usage, of course. I'd say maybe between 30 and 60 minutes of music listening per day, and maybe an hour or so of social media and messaging friends and work colleagues. I don't do the same number of hours video watching or gaming or using the camera like I would in those first couple of weeks either. The only times I've really had to watch my battery level are on those busier days where I might be moving around a lot more. For instance, on a long commute to London, and then the usual using maps to find unfamiliar meeting places or points of interest when I'm there, the battery definitely drains quicker on those train journeys than it would typically just being sat at home. But still, I can get through a day and be on my train home in the early evening with 20 or 30% left, at which point I can just plug it in or use a Magsafe battery pack. And that brings me on to one thing that's become an increasingly important part of my experience of using an iPhone, and that's Magsafe. It's not something I used tons on previous models, but now that it's been around a couple of years, there are more third-party accessories out there making the most of it, and I found it really useful. For instance, I have a Belkin 3-in-1 charger on my bedside, and I can just snap the phone on to charge at night. And because the case I use from Bellroy has Magsafe built in too, it sits really securely and charges while I sleep. This case also comes with a Magsafe wallet to match the case, allowing me to take my necessary credit and debit cards with me wherever I go without needing to carry a wallet in a different pocket. It's also great for when it needs to be mounted in the car. There are lots of Magsafe mounts out there now that mean no more fiddling about with arms or wrestling with it to try and get it in place. And you can have grips for the back of the phone like pop socket. They're Magsafe compatible too now, and that means no sticky residue. But in the end, the phone has some great high-end features undoubtedly. The speed and performance is market leading thanks to the A16 chip and 5G and Wi-Fi 6 connectivity, as it was when we did our first review. The display is excellent and the cameras are powerful and easy to use, so there's no doubt you're getting a stunning phone if you get the iPhone 14 Pro. But in the end, it's those little unexpected things I found myself using it for more. It's the Magsafe and really handy Apple ecosystem software tie-in features that elevate the experience. If you have bought one, let me know what your experience has been like and what things you've noticed in your time using it in the comments below, or you can grab me on Twitter. I'm at Cam Bunton on there. If you did like this video, please do leave a thumbs up, subscribe and tap the notification bell, and I'll see you again in the next one. Bye for now.